for another episode of the amazing podcast, What Is It Like to Be You? With me, your host, Souraya Christine. I am here with another guest. That's right. Every week we have a new guest that we are going to find out what it's like to be living in this world. So without further ado, I would like to introduce to you Miss Fonda and ask her, what is it like to be you? Can you tell us a little bit about you, who you are, what you do, what you have going on?
Sure. Thank you for having me. I appreciate that. My name is Fonda Tanner. I am originally from the Midwest, Nebraska. And yeah, people say Nebraska.
I
Where is
know,
that?
that's what I'm like, well, okay.
And currently, I live in the hot city of Las Vegas. It's been wonderful. I'm getting acclimated to the ethos. It's taken me a few years, but I can say now I know the right time to go out and how to navigate the industry. But yeah, I've been here 5 years. As far as what I do, I guess I would call myself kind of like a mini serial entrepreneur. I'm a real estate agent. I also have a project management business that I do on the side. I work for an IT company. I work as a contractor for an energy company. And I also have a home health business based out of Mississippi.
Wow.
Yeah, and so always thinking of something new to do. I'm probably not even touching the tip of what my typical day-to-day is like. But yeah, that's pretty much who I am in a nutshell. I'm a mom. I have two adult children and two grandkids that I adore. And they all live in Nebraska, so I don't get to see them as much, but yeah, yeah, we connect. We have a family vacation coming up in September, so I'm looking forward to that.
Nice. I
Mhm.
love it. So we're a lot alike. The whole serial entrepreneur thing, doing multiple, many different things. Every
Yeah.
time I run down the list, people are like, "What? How?"
Oh,
So I'm feeling that way toward you right now. I'm like, "How?" But I get it.
yeah.
I completely understand. And then I'm also a mom and grandma, so awesome. We have a lot in common. I love it.
Yes.
So how this works, basically, for those of you out there who may be new to this podcast or tuning in, What Is It Like to Be You is designed to bring the human back to humanity. I would like for us to go back to the time when we had some empathy, when we were a little bit more kind and a little bit more caring, a little bit more compassionate, since COVID and all of the other things that we've gone through all at the same time. I feel like we have gotten away from that. And people are so much on edge these days, and it's very difficult to express kindness and get kindness in return. And so, my goal with this podcast is just to reach somebody's heart and let you guys know out there that we are more alike than we are different. If you split us open, we all got the same stuff inside. I've been drawing blood for 30 years, and guess what? All of our blood is basically the same color. I know that surprises some of you, but it's true. Listen, there is so much that we share. And we have our differences too, because if we didn't, obviously it would be very boring. But our hair, right? Our skin, we all have it. We all have hair. We all have skin. We all have eyes and no, we all have a certain number of teeth, you know, and there are some one-offs. So we all have the same things in common. We're all human at the end of the day. And so my goal is just to show that again to each of you so that you can choose to live kinder and you can choose to make better decisions as you go on throughout your day and treat your fellow human in a much better way than maybe you have been. So, with all of that being said, basically, I have a plethora of questions that we can go through. I am going to ask you number one and number 35 um, without you having to choose. All the other ones, you will choose a number between 2 and 34. So, that's how we'll proceed. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, question number one says, when you look into the mirror, what is it that you see?
Well, I'm kind of looking in the mirror now through my camera. I see someone that tenacity comes to mind, perseverance. I see a person that, okay, maybe I look different than I did 30 years ago on the outside, but who I am on the inside is still there. Um, Someone told me, I don't know, I can't remember if it was my grandmother or one of my aunts, but basically you are who you are around 10 years old or before. You know, the outside may change, your environment may change. There's a lot of things that changes about you, but who you are at your core never change. That's why you can probably meet someone that you knew in high school or junior high and reconnect with them because you remember who each other's were at the
Yeah.
core. And as kids, that's how we judge people. It wasn't necessarily what they look like or, you know, if they were
Yeah.
black, if they were white. It was who they were at their core. And so when I look in the mirror, I try to look at myself at the core because we change, especially as women. We can nitpick and say, "Oh, I got gray hair. I got, you know."
Ooh. You see, I just embrace mine. I'm like, I'm just gonna put the
I
gray
love it.
extensions in
I
my
love
braids because at this point, try to dye my hair every week because the gray want to pop back out. I'm not doing it.
Yeah, I'm getting, you know, little around the edges here. I'm like, I love it. It looks good on you.
Thank you. It
Um,
grew on me.
yeah, I love it. I love it. I'm always intrigued by when people have gray hair, but they have really young faces. I'm like, how does that happen?
Mine started a long time ago too. And it's so funny because I have three adult children as well, and I have three grandchildren. My oldest grandbaby is 9, and I'm like,
Oh
I'm
yeah, mine will
old.
be 13 in September. And I'm
Wow.
like, 13? How did we get here?
Exactly. And it's like, you know what, at this point, I guess it is what it is. I can't, I kept trying to chase it away and like, do my little dye in my hair. It was like, yeah, no, ma'am, just stop it. Just stop.
No,
So
it looks absolutely wonderful. And yeah, and you have a young looking face. So it's kind of
thank
like you
you.
doing it on purpose. Like she purposely dyeing her hair that way because there's no
No,
way, you know.
for the world out there, no. I wish that I had that option, but no.
No.
It's all over the place too. It's crazy. Anyway, so
But
thank
yeah,
you for
that's
that.
what I see when I look in the mirror. Just,
I love it.
even through different variations, additions, phases, whatever you want to call it, I still see who I am in the core of me. And
I love it.
as long as I can see that, it makes me happy.
I love that. That's beautiful. That's a beautiful way to answer that. Thank you for that. Okay, so it's your turn. I would like for you to pick a number between 2 and 34.
One of my favorite numbers, because I'm a Pisces and I was born in March, is 3. And my birthday's on the 13th. So it's gonna be 3 and then 13 next.
Really?
FYI, yeah.
One of my grandbabies is on the 13th.
Really?
So, yeah, so I have March 13th and March 31st. No, no, no. Yes,
Wow.
March 13th, March 31st, and then May 31st. Yeah, they're
Beautiful.
all have the 1 and 3 in
One
their
of threes.
birthdays.
Yes.
That's so
Yes.
crazy.
Yes.
Okay, number 3 says, can you recall a moment when you left? I'm sorry, can you recall a moment when you felt completely misunderstood and how did that affect you?
Oh goodness. Completely misunderstood. I would say, and I apologize here, I'm just trying to plug my phone up. Growing up in the Midwest, there were a lot of times when I was one of few people of color or the only person of color in
Yeah.
various capacities. Um, and so I forgot what they call it, but you feel like you have to kind of show face of the situation that you're in instead of being your true authentic self. And there were
Mm,
times when I showed up as my true authentic self, but you know, it wasn't quite resonated. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Most recently, I worked in Germany, and
Wow.
again, one of the only. Um, yeah, and I just feel like there are certain things about maybe people that are different, cultures that are different, that some people embrace, and some people maybe because they just lack knowledge or lack
Yeah.
exposure, that they're a little bit more resistant to that type of change. You know what I mean? Um, so yeah, being misunderstood is I don't foresee it as something that is wrong with me per se, or even wrong with that other person. I just feel like maybe it's an opportunity to bridge that gap, maybe. And
Mhm.
all you can do is try, one person at a time. And
Yeah.
that's been the way that I've approached it. And I've had people that years later or even, like, oh, hey, like, I didn't know this, and through talking to you, I feel more comfortable, or more knowledgeable about certain things about people that are
Mhm.
different, without going into much detail. But yeah, so I mean, it's happened a lot at this. I think at this phase in life, it's going to happen, or you've had many experiences, and it's not that
Yeah.
it happens; it's how you deal with it.
Yeah, I agree because people are definitely going to, depending on their lack of knowledge, like you said, and their lack of experience, they're going to accept, different things and not accept different things. I think for me growing up, I was always misunderstood because of my facial expression. So people will always think that I was just angry. And I shouldn't really say that it was misunderstood because honestly, I was angry back then.
Yes.
However, I was still very approachable and I was still, the type of person where people could come and talk to and tell their whole life story and they still would. But I would often get a lot of that like, I'm not
Same.
gonna befriend her because I don't know what's going on with her kind of thing.
Yeah, and then when they become friends with you, they're like, "You're the goofiest person
Yeah.
ever." But they
Yes. So
never know. And part of that, and I can't speak for you, but for me, it was being guarded. Trust
yeah,
issue.
it was,
I
yeah.
purposely kept my circle around me very tight because I didn't trust. Um, and I'm probably still that way.
Hmm.
I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but that's one reason. And I don't think it's anything that we're pretty cognizant of. Um,
Hmm.
I just think we present that way because of maybe past trauma,
Hmm.
or situations that make us more aware, hyper aware of who's in our environment.
Yeah, that's exactly the reason for me. I experienced childhood trauma and subsequently multiple other forms of trauma as I continue to grow older. And so I absolutely didn't trust anybody, didn't like anybody. And I just, and also because I experienced the trauma, I had built up a wall. So I couldn't really connect with people anyway
Mm.
on a deeper level. And as I grew older and started to experience like the heartbreak and stuff like that, I remember one specifically that when I was 19 that left me in the place of not being able to connect emotionally to a significant other in a past a certain level. And so, being that happened, as I continued on my journey, I ended up in and out of relationships a lot and marriages even
Mhm.
because while I had a love for the person, there was always a point that I could not get past. And it wasn't until recently, this last divorce that I experienced, that I was able to heal that space, that
Mm.
I even realized that that space was there and what it was attributed to, so that I could go back and heal it. And so I'm grateful that I did the work because moving forward, that space for me is open. But it's crazy how we look back, on the things that we've experienced and how they've hindered us throughout the years. And then you're like, we were just talking about age and gray hairs and all that. And you're like, especially as women, we're like, oh, now I'm running out of time. Jesus, like, I don't know. I don't know if we go
We
in.
got more
Are we?
good years behind us than in front of us.
Yeah. And I'm like, are we still going to be able to go down this road? I don't know, so life is interesting.
It
All
is.
right. Let's pick another number.
13 would be next.
Ooh, that's my favorite number. In what ways do you think that your generation is misunderstood by others?
My generation misunderstood by others. Um, I think that we're at that level where we've seen so much, you know what I mean? We had cursive writing, we had typewriters, we had DOS for computers, Oregon Trail. We had all these things that were at the very tip of this age that we live in now.
Yeah.
The Facebook and social media and all these things, right? And we've seen a lot, Y2K.
Yeah.
We lived through a lot to that was actually getting us to this point, even though we didn't understand that at the time. And so we have all this knowledge, we have all these memories, and so we try to marry them with what we see now.
Mhm.
um yeah. And
That's
I
hard.
feel like the younger generation is like, what?
That's hard. Yeah. I don't understand
Yeah,
nothing
they
y'all
have
talking
no patience.
about.
Yeah, they have no
Yeah.
baseline other than what they know. And so, yeah, I think that we have a lot of knowledge that is untapped that can help the younger generation, but they're like a very quick, they want everything quick.
Mm.
We were a lot more patient,
Yeah.
uh, because we had to be, and they don't live in that world anymore. And so, I think for a variety of reasons, we misunderstand each other.
Yeah.
But I think magic can happen and does happen when we do connect and we do share, our experiences and our knowledge, and proactively think about what's going to go in the future. Um, in business, I feel like the younger generation can take you where you need to be as far as a social media or online presence that we've never thought of. Making content for your business. Who would have ever thought of that?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of greatness. And I think we have a lot of business knowledge as far as what can make a business successful, the things you can
Hmm.
operationally that maybe they didn't think about because they're more focused on the front end of it than the
Hmm.
back. So I
Yeah.
think if you marry it, you can mesh it together, and magic can happen. So I
Yeah.
like, yeah, it does present an opportunity or maybe a potential to be misunderstood, but I think when you take the time and connect, yeah, it is magic.
Yeah, we just have to take the time to connect. Like that's the piece, right? That's that if we can get past the misunderstanding, we can move forward and have communication where we can see where, our two worlds can mesh, like you said, instead of collide. I like
Mhm.
that. Cool
I used
beans.
to be and to one more point, I used to be a leader at a job where they would not hire, and this was 2015. They would not hire people with tattoos. The management was
Hmm.
all for it up, and there was a lot of great talent that was coming in the door. But if they had anything visible as far as tattoos, this is,
Yes.
and I was thinking, wow, we are, presenting a misunderstanding of these young people because they have tattoos. You know what I mean? Like, what talent lies behind them.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I think it goes both ways. It can.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you mentioned that because I've been in healthcare for 30 years and that was always the thing in healthcare. Like you couldn't have tattoos or you had to have them covered up. Um Piercings, stuff like you couldn't have any of that. You had to have it covered up, but you had to take it out or whatever. And so I have seen that has become more lax these days. And so I'm grateful to see that because you're right. There's so many talented people out there with so many different stories. Tattoos may just be one of them, and so we don't we shouldn't anyway block that person's opportunity to be great in whatever field it is that they choose just because they decided to get tattoos or piercings or whatever that looks like. So super cool. Thank you for that. Let's pick another number.
Let's see. Let's go with 16.
16 says, can you share an experience that made you realize that you had more in common with someone different than you originally thought?
Hmm. Yeah, there's so many different stories, but one that just popped in my head was my son, he played basketball when he was growing up. And I remember at the high school level where things get a little, you get more involved. Um, there was a group called the Basketball Moms, if you will.
Mhm.
And all different, black, white, Hispanic, just across the board. And I remember having to partner with the moms, and even though we were all different in our not only our racial makeup but just experiences and background, I remember just being able to connect if I was having a bad day, if they were having a bad day, if the boy if a mom was supposed to host a dinner and something happened,
Mhm.
and we had to step in and help, but it was teamwork. And it was teamwork without any divisiveness, without any misunderstandings.
Mhm.
We just were there for the best interest of our boys. And what resulted out of that was lifelong. Like I still, there's one basketball mom that I still talk to this day. She's getting a divorce, and I check in on her every now and then, but she's always in the back of my mind, and she will always be a friend. And that stemmed from being in that environment with someone that was different and not
Mhm.
understanding or not knowing where that will go, and how far that would take to both of us.
hmm And I think that's so powerful in that you took the opportunity and the time to um, devote to that space so that you could, know other people that didn't look like you and learn more about them and vice versa, right? And that's what it's going to take. And that's, like I said, the very premise of this show. That's what it's going to take. It's going to take for us to look past whatever our fears are, whatever, the ignorance is that we carry,
Mm.
and take that step to get to know somebody and what they're about and what their values are, because you never know how aligned you may be with someone that doesn't look like you. Just because we look different doesn't mean that we, you know, have completely different life experiences or completely different thought processes, or one person's thinking on Mars and the other one's thinking on Venus. Like, no, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be that way. And so, find your tribe. Your tribe may not always look exactly like you, though. So you got to
Hmm.
get out your comfort zone. And that's the scary part for people, I think.
For sure.
Which, all right, let's pick another number.
Let's go with 19.
19 says, how has social media affected the way that you present yourself to the world?
Hmm. I think social media can work in a lot of different ways. I think it can show the positives of your life, the new job, the new promotion, the new business, the family, so I feel like I'm connected to people that, man, I probably, people from high school, people from the old neighborhood, that otherwise I would probably never see
Yes.
again in life,
Yeah.
and for that I'm appreciative. But I also think social media can bring on um, perceptions that are not necessarily true or
Mm,
real. And so you have to be very, very, you have to understand what your intent is. Some people's intent is to be authentic and show their true selves via social media. And some people's intent is to have a perception. Maybe they're selling a service, maybe they're
yeah.
selling, and maybe it's very targeted for them. So it can work in a variety of different ways. But to your point, for me, I can use it for business. I can use it for personal. I can use it just to sit back and scroll and kind of, brighten up my day. So I'm very targeted, and I even set time. I'm not going to do
Mm,
this for personal 2 hours a day, business, whatever, whenever I need to jump on and do it. I don't
yeah.
really have limitations. So for me, I am very targeted and very dedicated in how I use it and how I spend my time.
Okay.
So yeah, so I think it allows me the opportunity to kind of maybe spread my wings a little further than I can without it.
Okay. That's good. It's so interesting that you mentioned the Facebook thing. So I was at an event that I was speaking at the other night, and one of the other speakers said, okay, like pull out your phone, go to your settings. And like, I didn't even know if my phone did this, to be honest, not like in this way. So he had us see how much time we were spending on social media.
Yeah.
And mine was 13 hours and like 21 minutes or something like that a day. I was
Yes.
like, whoa. But the truth of the matter is, because I host a national women's conference. And so we're in different states almost every month. So I do a lot on social media because of that. Right now, I do my scrolling and stuff too. But I would say the majority of those hours are spent promoting the women's conference and the podcast and the other things that I do. So I didn't feel as bad, but that
That,
initial shock of like, what? 13
yeah.
hours a day? That's like more
Yeah.
than
So
half
I
the
set
day.
mine at 10 hours. So that 10 hours
Okay.
encompasses everything. And like halfway through the day, I'm like, because my alarm will go off, I'll get like a notification saying that you've hit your 10 hours. I'm like, already?
Like, we just started the day. I just woke up. What do you mean?
Oh,
Oh, that's so crazy. So now, I would like to maybe be more cognizant of the time. I don't know that I will be, honestly, because the truth of the matter is, because we travel all over the country, like I really need social media.
yeah.
And I'm grateful for it these days, and doing that. So I don't know if those numbers will change, but it was
Yeah.
just like, it was interesting to see that, right there in black and white basically. And I
And I
was
think
just
it's
like,
going to get even more. I think it's going to increase over time, because I remember
yeah,
back in the day, I thought 4 hours was, oh my God, I spent 4 hours, now, it's kind of like, Yes, I think that the more our life evolves, the more we're going to need to be on there for different reasons.
I agree, and because I don't think I could get much done in 4 hours, honestly, on social media. Oh, oh gosh, that is so funny. Awesome. Pick another number, please.
21.
You said 21?
Yes.
21 says, what life experiences have you had the most significant impact on? I'm sorry, what life experience have had the most significant impact on shaping who you are today?
Being a mom, most definitely. I was a young mom. I had my daughter at 18.
Okay.
And man, you have to learn. There's no, as people say, there's no guide, no handbook.
Yeah.
So being a young mom, still putting myself through school, working full time, working several jobs, growing up with my daughter. You know
Yep.
what I mean? Um, I think that molded me because the things that I wouldn't do for myself, I did because I was a mom. You know, it probably would have taken me longer to really realize the importance of hard work and things of that nature. I always knew about it, but to put it from theory into practice happened a lot sooner for me. Um, so yeah, and I wouldn't change that for anything in the world because it molded me into being very introspective, dedicated. I understood, even though I didn't have the jobs that I felt aligned my destiny or what I was put here to do,
Mhm.
I understood that everything had a purpose, and I tried to optimize that purpose in that phase of my life, which now being an empty nester, I'm like, I can see
Mm.
why all those things had to happen in the order that they happened. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be where I am now. I wouldn't understand a lot of the things that I understand if I didn't have to go through the trials of being a single parent. So I would definitely say being a mom has shaped me into being a better person.
I love that. Awesome. Yeah, and it should, right? For most of us, it should help
Mhm.
shape you into being a better person. I love that. Oh, you're making me jealous drinking coffee over there. I would love to have some right now. Let's pick
Yeah,
another
so
number.
McDonald's is my
I
favorite.
know
We talked about this before, but I drink nothing else but McDonald's. When
I
I travel,
love McDonald's coffee.
yeah, yeah, and there's a Starbucks in the lobby of the hotel, I will still go to McDonald's.
I'll drink Starbucks too, but you know what I learned recently, and I didn't even realize where this was coming from. I was telling my mom, I was like, I think, coffee messes with my stomach and blah, blah, blah. And she was like, oh, well, what kind of coffee? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if it's all kinds of coffee. It was at the forefront of my mind. And then I had gotten some Starbucks coffee on a road trip and my stomach started hurting. I was like, oh,
Ah,
it's Starbucks. I can't do that
yeah.
anymore. So so now I'm just gonna be, and you know what? McDonald's is less expensive anyway, and it tastes better. So I'm all for it. I even buy the McDonald's Keurig cups. So
Yeah, yeah.
works for me. Let's
Yeah.
pick another number. I think we got time for a couple more.
All right, let's do 24.
24. Can you share a story where understanding someone else's perspective profoundly changed your own view?
Hmm. Yeah, I used to come off as a know-it-all. Maybe I still do. I don't know. So
Oh,
it was hard for me to listen to other people's perspective.
yeah,
I,
I
uh,
understand that.
yes, yes, yes. And just I don't know. So yeah, so I've had over the years to encourage myself to be more open to that. And with that being said, there's been a lot of people just fleetingly that have come into my life. Maybe I met them at a network event, work, or whatever capacity. That has really, I'm like, wow, I never thought of it that way. Let me try something different.
Mhm.
And some of it has come from even my grandkids. you know,
Oh,
yeah, they're like, well, no, and just hearing their perspective from their young ears, I'm like, I totally never thought about it that way. So I've had to allow myself, any person that I meet now, I don't talk, I listen. and I don't talk unless I have something to say. I used to talk first, but now I've made it a point to just kind of sit back and kind of hear what they have to say, get to know who they are. And if I have questions about their perspective, ask those questions, because you never know what you're going to learn. You never know what values you're going to share or not share, and understand, why they believe in what they believe, not to judge, but just to try to relate or try to understand. So that is not probably one particular person or situation. It's just me forcing myself to undo, that behavior that I've had in the past, and be open to everyone. Everyone has a story.
Mm-hmm. I love that. So my 18-year-old, he's the youngest, and he is very much he to me he's very weird. But that's that generation, I feel like. But anyway, he's very much a non-judgmental person. You see how I did there? I just judged him and called him weird. See, apparently I'm not learning as
He
much as
didn't
I
get
thought
it
I
from
was
you. He
learning.
didn't get it from you.
He probably did. He probably did. But he is very much non-judgmental person. Like he accepts everybody for whoever, whatever. Like I don't care what it is. They could be walking around the street with a pole sticking out there. Like to him it's just like, wow, that is so cool. Like he doesn't,
I love
have
it.
that, and I admire that.
Mhm.
Because while I feel like I'm non-judgmental, obviously that is not the truth, and I feel like, I definitely could get better in that space. So I try to actively practice it, like when we're a certain way all of our lives, we have to make a change, but it's a process, right? Like we have to make ourselves start doing something different in order to create something different for ourselves,
Right.
And so it's like that whole creating a new habit kind of thing. Like you have to do it so many times
Mhm.
before it becomes the new habit.
Right.
And so it's the same way with changing our thought processes about, how we view people and how we view things. And so for me, he's kind of like my guide in that sense of just like watching how he, loves everybody for whatever, for whoever, and I love that because I really, I thought I was that genuine, but when I put myself next to him, I'm not, and I'm
Right.
just like, wow, and so I appreciate that he's that person. So
That's beautiful. A lot of people struggle with that. So, especially in the social media, I mean, people get behind these keyboards, and I'm like,
hmm
whoa,
yes, yes,
those
yes,
are only
and it
things to
makes it
think
easy
about.
to
You don't say
judge.
those things.
Yes, I don't know. I'm gonna get better though. I'm gonna get better. I'm progressing.
Yeah. It's, you know what? Acknowledging is the first step. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes, it
And
is.
and thankfully and blessedly we're able to wake up each day and make it better, you know?
Amen. And I just said that this morning when I woke up. I try to make it a habit to pray before my feet even touch the floor. And that's one thing I ask for every morning, or just give thanks for every morning, is the opportunity to make better decisions today.
Mm-hmm.
And I really do try to do that, in different ways. And so I am super grateful. I'm super grateful for each day. There's so many people that didn't make it here, make it to the age that I am, or make it through some of the things that I've been through. And so I'm so grateful that, even COVID, for instance, I had COVID right after I came out of this last divorce in October of 2022. And I had it so bad that I probably should have gone to the hospital. And I don't know if I would have made it back out the hospital, but I made it a point not to because I was going to take care of myself,
Mm.
But yeah, but it changed a lot of me. Anyway, that's a whole nother rabbit hole that I don't want to go down. So let's just pick another number.
Uh, what was the threshold? 35?
34. Don't be
34.
trying to take my 35.
No, I was trying to figure out how far I can go up the ladder. Let's do 29.
Okay. 29 says, how do you stay true to yourself in a world that often tries to define you?
Oh, that is a good question. And I think I want to answer it in this way. As far as you were talking about marriage and relationships, I think sometimes we can be in a relationship and we become the person we think that person
Mm.
desires or needs,
Ooh,
as women.
ooh,
Um, is it healthy? No. Do we do it?
all
Yes.
the time.
Yes. And so when you are in a long-term relationship and you're trying to be that person, sometimes you lose yourself. You lose the essence of who you are. And as I've gotten older, especially in this last relationship, I just refused to let go of the person that I am, and it was more like a here I am, take me or leave me type of
Yeah.
thing. And I had to fight to stay true to myself. I really do. It's a struggle. It was an everyday struggle
Yeah.
because we're me, people pleaser, you want to do the right thing. And but I refuse to lose who I was. And even through different situations that have happened in my life where people maybe I perceived have done me wrong or
Mm-hmm.
things didn't work out as planned, I always told myself I refuse to allow them or allow the situation to change who I am as a person. And so I'm fighting to stay who I am within the context of any relationship and fighting to stay who I am even through the ebbs and flows of life. And the way that I do that is I figure out what brings me joy. What can I do to take care of myself,
Mm-hmm.
to allow myself to be authentic and true to myself?
Yeah.
And a lot of it is just reflecting on situations and really figuring out why this impacted me the way it did. What can I do to resolve it in the future? Boundaries, what boundaries can I
Mm.
set? Those are so important because if you set your boundaries, you protect who you are. You protect your
Yeah.
essence, your aura. You know what I mean? Where you don't feel like you have to negotiate it. And so I've become very astute, very good at doing that. And so 30-year-old me, you know, me today, I'm like, you know what? That's not me. That's on you. I'm gonna handle it the way that I feel I want to handle it as me as a person.
Mm.
And I want to walk away feeling like, okay, that was good. I didn't feel like I needed to change who I was or have to apologize later, you know?
I love that. Hmm. That's good. That's so important too, of like having that. Because I know I've had exchanges where I left it and I'm like, ooh.
I could have said this, I could have said that.
Yes. On both ends of the spectrum, right?
Yeah.
In the situations where it maybe wasn't a good exchange because I was angry about something or whatever, or I felt wronged in some way, or even in an argument, we've all had them, right? And so, and then I walk away and I'm like, dang it, I should have said this, I should have said that. But then it's too late. You can't go back and start it over, right?
Mhm.
But on the positive side too, because I've spent a lot of years motivating people, encouraging people, and then a lot of it has been like kind of on the fly. But then when I have time to go back and reflect, I'm like, oh, dang, I should have told them this. I should have said that. And so, but I love the fact that now I try to be um, less like, what is the word that I'm looking for? Reactive
Yeah.
and impulsive. I try to be less impulsive.
Yeah.
And I try to take the time to think a little bit longer now before I respond. So then that way I can say what I want to say or need to say. And
Mm.
I do leave feeling like, okay, I didn't have to compromise myself, in that exchange. And I'm feeling good about how that went down. So I think
Yeah.
it's important to do that because I'm historically very impulsive on every, it probably hence the reason I've been married so many times because
Well, how many
it's
times have you been married?
five. I have been married and
Wow.
divorced 5 times.
The
Yes,
fact
I
that you
have.
found 5 men, I'm like, well, you got to tell me.
People say that all the time. They're like, you need to teach a class on how to get married because, man, I actually do have a class, by the way, but
Okay.
nobody, yeah. Everybody asks me, but nobody has purchased a class yet. But anyway, it's out there. So, but yeah, I've been married and divorced 5 times. So this last one was number five that ended in 2022. And so I always compare myself to the woman at the well in the Bible. I actually am going to be writing a script about that. So
Oh, wow.
I
Okay.
feel very
Exciting.
much like her. Um, and so yeah, so that's a part of my story, right? It's a part of my testimony, but it's a part of two sides to my testimony: the impulsive me, and also the me that wasn't healed from that space of like connection, you know? And so, and it just is what it is. I had to write a book about that. I have several published books, but that's the most recent one that I haven't released yet, is about the 5 marriages. So, you know, we all have a story.
Yes, I will be ready and willing to read that story. It's intriguing.
I love it. I'll let you know when it drops. It should be pretty soon, actually.
Good.
All right. So number 35 says, what legacy do you want to leave behind and how are you working toward it?
I want to leave a legacy that when people think of me, they think about, man, I have this fear, I have this reservation. I don't really know this idea or dreams or goals, aspirations, whatever you want to call it. And I don't really know how to move forward. I'm scared to move forward. And they think of me and be like, man, she wasn't, this wasn't a legacy thing for her. Like nothing was handed, no, I wasn't taught
Mm-hmm.
business. I wasn't taught any of that. It was all through observation, self-learning, and just going through the fires.
Yeah.
So from that, I hope that I can save anyone, my kids, anyone, from having to go through the fire. They understand that there's a better, maybe a smarter way to do things because I've laid that groundwork for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I know you can't hand down a job, but you can hand down a business. And so I'm hoping that through my business aspirations that something clicks where they can either take it on, learn from it, or develop a sense of security in knowing that you don't have to be afraid to start something. All you got to do is start it and be willing to learn the ins and outs to get to where you need to be. So yeah, so being fearless is the legacy that I would like to leave just in general.
I love it.
Yeah, people tell you you can't do this, you can't do that, or they've never been told what they can do. Just
Mhm.
remember that it's all possible.
Anything, really. Literally anything is possible. Literally
Mhm.
anything.
Yeah.
you know? And so it just, it takes your it takes work, basically, at the end of the day. That's what it takes. It takes work. It takes faith and it takes work.
Mhm.
And you have to have those two things. And I can't say don't have fear, right? We can say don't have fear. We can say be fearless. It's we can say that all day long, but the reality is we're human and we're gonna have some, right?
Exactly.
But the key to it is just take it with you, like feel it and do it anyway.
Mhm.
I am one of those people that have had many fears, but I've done many things as well, right? And so
Mhm.
now I've trained myself to look at fear and be like, okay, come on, let's just, I mean, it is what it is, but we still going, like we still gonna
If
take a
it
step
doesn't
forward.
scare you, it probably isn't worth doing. It has
Yeah,
to scare you a little bit.
it should. It absolutely should, and so I love that. So those were amazing last words too, by the way. So with that, I will just ask if there is any contact information you would like to share, if people want to work with you in some way or with one of the businesses that you have, or just want to connect with you, how can they do that?
Sure. So I do networking events. I do business consulting. I do project management. So if you need a project manager for IT, healthcare, and a lot of different sectors, if you need a home health person in the Mississippi area, or you just want to connect and just connect, I can be reached at 800-540-7411. Facebook, I believe I'm under Fonda Tanner, and under my business, it's called Biznet, Biznet. Um, and yeah, those are the primary ways to reach me if you want to connect. I'm getting into the space of retreats. There is going to be a niche, but if you want to talk partnering for retreats, I'm open to that. It's still fairly new to me. Yeah, so and I'm looking, like I said, for a specific niche, and I haven't figured out what that niche is yet.
Oh,
So so
okay.
yeah, so I am always open for new business ideas, new visions, even just a vision board, verbal vision board. I'm not into the manual ones,
Cutting
but
and
the
pasting.
my ADD is just, yeah, I can't do those. But I love direct conversation and I love those one-on-ones. That's one thing. Small talk, yes, I'm not very good at that. But if you want to talk about life, I'm your girl. But anyway, yes, that's how you will reach me, and the premises that you that we can connect under.
Perfect. Well, awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today. I truly appreciate it. Great conversation. I look forward to talking with you and connecting with you more.
Thank you so much. I appreciate this. This was fun. So thank you so much.
Indeed. You're
All right.
welcome. All right, you guys. We will see you again next week and do it all over again. Have an amazing week, you guys, and go out there and love on somebody on purpose. Get to know somebody on purpose. Okay. All right. Bye.